All right, welcome into Off the Radar, taking a look at a few stories outside our normal topics as we do every Tuesday and Thursday at around 4:45 or so. And we're going to start off with LSU basketball. Today, apparently the program received a notice of allegations regarding its the NCAA investigation into its men's basketball program. This is something that they've been waiting on, and we all know here very well how long this process can take and how long this can be drug out. Do y'all remember when the whole federal investigation into college basketball corruption started?
It ended in 2017. So
2017, we're going back.
So it took them 5 years to do an open records request for Will Wade on a wiretap.
Yeah.
I mean, like, well, you know, why did he have to do it? They could have just watched the documentary that HBO did and heard it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, what takes 5 years?
Yeah, so when contacted, LSU did not acknowledge that they had received a notice of allegations. This all revolves around, you know, the basketball investigation, and, you know, there's part of the review process. There's just like so many, you know, different levels this seems to go through. That's the only way I guess it can be described, because of the amount of time that it takes. I guess there's a lot of you know, hands in this story, but Will Wade, if charged with a major violation, could be terminated with cause, according to SI, and according to the contract amendment that he agreed to back in April 2019. They reached out to his attorney, who also did not have a comment. So no idea what LSU would do in that case. You know, if it were to turn out that he is found guilty of a major violation or becomes charged with the major violations, but they'll be playing in the NCAA tournament. They'll be in the, you know, obviously the SEC tournament comes first, but they were, you know, hit with some infractions, and there was also the stuff going on with football as well. But yeah, I just wanted to update. LSU has received a notice of allegations for violations in the men's basketball program. So we'll see where that goes. You know, I'm not even going to try and predict, because, of course, a lot of people predicted Baylor like the day it was announced the NCAA is investigating, and they were all pretty much wrong.
For 5 years, it was in the death penalty phase. And then, yeah, and you wondered out what's next with Kansas. And that's got to be something that's got to be on the table, right?
Yeah, I mean,
you're scared to talk about that.
Kansas has been waiting. I mean, eventually, like,
I was going to say, like, how long have they been?
They're kind of waiting like Baylor was.
You want the answer.
That's the worst part, is the waiting. The waiting is the worst part.
It is hurting Kansas's recruiting right now.
It is. All right.
So Wade had been caught back 5 years ago on FBI wiretaps, talking to then agent Christian Dawkins, talking about prospect Javonte Smart. And remember, the phrase was that strong-ass offer that they were going to make Javonte Smart. He, of course, ended up at LSU, played 3 seasons. And Dawkins recently began serving his jail term in Alabama. He's got an 18-month sentence on bribery and conspiracy charges. And then you had a couple of Adidas execs who are also currently serving time, and a bunch of assistant coaches who were found guilty. So this was not just a Will Wade thing, but he's the one that's kind of gotten through it without as much heat as a lot of the others.
For the Adidas guys and Christian Dawkins, it has to kind of suck that if you just waited a couple years, what you were doing is totally legal now.
No kidding. I mean, pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. Could have just called it NIL.
Didn't he basically tell LSU to screw themselves and you better not fire me? Didn't he fight it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, he fought back, yeah.
Do you wonder about sitting in prison, like, hey, what are you in for? Like, oh, I'm in for something that's legal now.
I mean, just in general, even if it was illegal, what are you in prison for? I was trying to swing mega deals for college basketball prospects. What'd you do? I killed a guy. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's not the toughest crime ever.
It's like the NFL suspensions with the Ridley getting, you know, a year, which he knew going in. That's not something you do. And then somebody can beat their wife or have domestic violence or assault, and they're out for 4 games.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And yeah, the NFL has.
And
I'm
not arguing against Ridley's suspension. I'm just saying it sometimes seems like it's a weird 1 or 2.
Yeah, as March Madness starts, a little update on Dick Vitale. He posted on Tuesday that his most recent scan indicates that no cancer is showing. He said, OMG, all the prayers many of you have sent have been answered, as Dr. Brown, who heads my cancer team, called and said, PET scan came back, no cancer is showing. I feel like a coach playing for the Final Four as a PTPer hit a shot at the buzzer. My March Madness starts with a W, baby. So he had been diagnosed with lymphoma back in the fall, and he had come back, and he had made his way through Waco, right, once before? before his eventual break, right before. Because they had the whole to-do. And then he had a diagnosis of a dysplasia on his vocal cords and left the airwaves to recover. So he had surgery on his vocal cords back in February and then was released from the hospital. So Dickie V with a nice positive report, and hopefully he gets better soon. And also in sports media news, this is not official, but I will have another Amazon note in a second that has nothing to do with football, but very much some things to do with sports. But Kirk Herbstreit is looking more and more locked in to be joining the Amazon crew as an NFL analyst that will be in addition to his ESPN duties.
That's the key there.
Yeah.
He's going to be able to continue to do college football, which I wondered about that.
Peter King talked about this today. He said, I heard last night that Amazon, spurned by Troy Aikman, Sean McVay, and John Lynch, has settled on Kirk Herbstreit to be the analyst on its Thursday night package of NFL games starting this fall. He's likely to continue his current ESPN ABC duties as well. Andrew Marchand of the New York Post had this first, and it alluded to this first as well. So looks like, he'll be double dipping, and he had made some comments here recently about it that really made it sound like the NFL was heavy on his mind and a way he was really starting to lean. But I know he also loves college football, so we'll see how it all shakes out in the end. But it does appear there's more and more signs indicating Herbstreit is Amazon bound.
Yeah, and he does well during games. So I like games that he does. I think most people in college football don't really share Kirk Herbstreit's opinion on everything, and
right.
the NFL will love him because one thing he is I don't want to use the term shill, but he's an advocate for the establishment.
Yeah, the NFL will like that.
Yeah, of course they will. I mean, that's what they're all about.
His comments when Cincinnati made it were just it was
there's no problem.
It was beneath. Okay. It was beneath.
That was a lame. That was a lame reasoning. It's like the playoffs totally fine because this one team randomly made it this year. Like that was such a weak argument. I like Herbie, but that was a weak argument.
To me, that was like, listen, Tommy got to go to the prom with his aunt. He got to go. What's the problem?
Exactly. So we will see, again, when that becomes official, but it does like Herbstreit will be doing Amazon, NFL, and then his typical ESPN, ABC college football duties. Another sports media note, Doris Burke has reached a multi-year extension with ESPN, so she is going to continue doing NBA games, NBA playoffs, regular season. She'll do the finals on ESPN Radio and an NBA Sunday Showcase on ABC, but I like Doris Burke. Think she does a great job. So just a little media note. We talk about athletes' contracts.
That's good.
So good for her getting a new deal. I was talking about Amazon. I was meaning to say Apple, Amazon, and Herbstreit. Like that's all what I said. All there, but. Staying in streaming, Apple is the one that had the big announcement today, not Amazon. I got the two confused for a moment. But Apple announced, along with Major League Baseball, today that they have agreed to a streaming deal. This streaming deal between MLB and Apple TV will see 2 Friday night games exclusively on Apple TV Plus every single week, starting with the 2022 season. Friday Night Baseball. It'll have live pregame and postgame shows. It'll be available in the U.S. and several other countries. Apple TV also has a program that they are calling MLB Big Inning for U.S. viewers, which they described as a live show, basically a sports center, featuring highlights and look-ins airing every weeknight during the regular season. You can watch marquee games every Friday, which will be free from local broadcast restrictions, which is a big deal. So you won't have those blackout issues that so many people complain about. I'm in Chicago. I can't even watch the White Sox or, whatever. That will not be an issue. But that will take away a couple games if you are an MLB TV subscriber. Those will be 2 games that are no longer a part of that package, but we've been talking for a long time about the streaming wars and how sports is going to be involved, and you see Amazon making their big push with the NFL and now Apple getting into Major League Baseball.
Well, I'm curious to see if Apple gets the Sunday ticket contract is up with DirecTV this year, and AT&T has not made the move to re-sign that. So I would think that it is probably going to Apple or Amazon next year, which is opens it up to way more different people who can get it, and perhaps a cafeteria plan. Or if it's Apple, what has been reported is that the NFL thinks Apple can just take it, and if you pay your $6.99 or whatever the Apple subscription is, you just get the Sunday ticket.
That'll be staggering.
That would be awesome.
And then, of course, you hope they start to get involved in wanting college football.
Yeah, because Apple can afford it because their GDP is larger than most countries.
Yeah. Certainly larger than one I can think of right now at the moment. Yeah, no. All right, a couple of other notes, and then we'll bail out here. If you're a women's basketball fan, in particular a WNBA fan, ESPN announced today that they are set to launch WNBA Fantasy. Surprising they haven't actually had this given how popular fantasy sports are, but ESPN did announce that they are going to be incorporating and introducing ESPN Fantasy Women's Basketball, first season-long fantasy game ever dedicated to a major women's sport. It'll be open for signups in early April ahead of the 2022 WNBA season, which tips off on May the 6th. So if you're a fantasy fan and also a WNBA fan, there's a little thing for you starting here in just a few weeks. And then just taking a quick look, because we talked about Dalton Schultz and the franchise tag, but just taking a quick look at some of the guys who got franchise tagged today, and Paul or Smokey, if you want to chime in on this. Buccaneers with wide receiver Chris Godwin.
Great idea.
Yeah, they
Don't
tagged,
let him go.
Yeah, huge year for him. Jaguars placed the tag on offensive tackle Cam Robinson.
I mean, you got to protect Trevor Lawrence, although Cam Robinson's not the guy I'd want to pay $15 million to. But I mean, what's your alternative?
Yeah, now going to be making close to 17 with that franchise tag. Devontae Adams tagged by the Packers, so a big day for Green Bay football.
No brainer, and glad that Jack gets to buy a Devontae Adams jersey. That means something.
Yeah. Chiefs tagged left tackle Orlando Brown, who they brought over last offseason's former Oklahoma Sooner.
Played with the Ravens before that?
Yeah, he was with the Ravens, yep. And then the Chiefs traded for him. Bengals tagged safety Jesse Bates. Browns tagged tight end David Njoku. And the Dolphins tagged Mike Gesicki, their tight end, who had a pretty nice year. So those were the tagged players.
The only one I don't get is David Njoku, just because he's been so injury prone, although this is the best year he's had. And if Baker Mayfield has some sort of rhythm with him, I think you have to, at least for one more year with Baker Mayfield, try to see if that works, because you need to do everything you can to help your quarterback out.
Who's better, Dalton Schultz or David Njoku?
Dalton Schultz has had the better numbers over the last 2 years. So, David Njoku was a much higher draft pick than Dalton Schultz was.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He was a part of that big package of picks that they had. I get the drafts confused because they had so many multiple first round and second round pick drafts. They had like 3 of those in the last 15 years. But yeah, he was a part of one of those years. And then there were a bunch of other signings as well. I won't run all those down. If you're interested, you can obviously go and check that out. And I'll leave you with the Deion story. I know that you were very interested in that one, and I'll leave it there. Those were a few things that are off the radar.
We'll have Jalen Petrie here in a moment from former Baylor defensive back, linebacker, hybrid, whatever. Deion Sanders has there's a series, and I think the last series or last episode is coming up. He admitted last year he missed 23 days. He had his left foot amputated. 2 toes on his left foot amputated.
Two toes, not the whole left foot.
Primetime had an issue with his feet when he was with the Cowboys late in his career. He started having some problems with that. But he had basically what looks like shrapnel had blown part of his leg. Not shrapnel. I'm not trying to compare that to war, but that's what it looked like. He had surgery for that. He missed a few games. Apparently had blood clots in his leg that created 2 toes that were blocked because of no blood flow. He had numerous surgeries, several surgeries. And it's pretty amazing. If you have not watched it on Barstool Sports, Coach Prime, that episode in itself could be similar to Alex Smith and his comeback story in the NFL.
Well, I mean, it was a little deeper than that. I mean, they had to flay his leg open. So they had to flay his leg open because he had a blood clot in his femoral artery. That's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big – he had a blood clot in his femoral artery. They had to flay his leg. He also had compartment syndrome where the leg swells up, so that was part of the reason why they had to flay it, was because they needed to drain fluid out of it. That was just one aspect of it. But yeah, his big toe and his second toe amputated because of blood clots and all the issues that came with that. And they had apparently been talking, and he says it in the series, I believe, that they were talking about taking his leg from the knee down. And ultimately ended up just taking 2 toes instead. I mean, that's still horrific, but I mean, it could have been far worse.
Could somebody turn the air conditioner on because I'm about to pass out because I am that thin-skinned
Blood
and
clots are
stuff like
scary,
that.
man.
And I remember the pictures of the Alex Smith thing. And 54 years old, one of the fastest ever athletes ever in any sport. And now he, of course, was talking about wanting to whether or not live, much less be able to walk again. That's why you've seen him on that push cart for quite some time throughout last season. Craig, thank you very much. Stephen Snook just put up on the chat room how much he loves both Off the Radar and also, Paul, your top 5 as well. Now let's go eat after that. But when we come back,